Well, what I didn't realize is at the dojo where I was training at, our scale was off. So I was 15 pounds over.
Ooh.
So come night of the fight, I got to, fight him on ESPN. And what ended up happening was I got on the scale and I'm 15 pounds over. So Sensei Kini said, okay, step off the scale. And so I get back on, he recalibrates it. I get back on again, 15 pounds over. Okay, I got one more shot. So I get off, I get back on the scale, 15 pounds over. So I got 3 options. Lose as much as I can in 5 hours. Okay, so I already signed a contract. Everything's all set. So I either lose as much as I can, don't lose any, and my whole purse goes to my opponent, or lose the weight and fight. So I up for number 3. So I got 5 hours to lose 15 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't recommend this to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I did it. Okay.
Hi, this is Bob Weiss. I'm the host of Shaking Your World. Cheers.
Folks, welcome home. Here we are, another issue of Shaking Your World, and we're doing one of these segments on the Tell Me a Story. Very old, dear friend of mine, Tommy Hall, is in the house today. We're going to talk about, I don't know, the last 40 years or so, just things we mucked around with, things that you've done, and the state of the world today. How's that?
Okay.
Tommy, honored to have you in the house. Welcome home, man.
Yeah, I love coming here to Shakers. Like I said, we've been friends for over 40 some years, and we'll just stop with 40. And yes, Milwaukee's my home. I've lived here all my life, and been very blessed to have been able to compete professionally in full contact karate. Now you call it kickboxing, and retired. U.S. champion, world champion, Hall of Fame, and just very happy to be able to come and spend some time here at Shakers and my old friend.
Well, again, we are truly honored. I'm honored to have you in the house for any number of reasons, but just the evolution of you as long as I've known you. And you think about, at one point, the baddest guy in the room, you, and your incredible fight history that you did so incredibly well. And to think about you going from that into now you are working as a deacon and have been for a while.
Yes.
And helping to form people's lives, to make a difference for them, give them opportunities and the insight to have those opportunities that perhaps otherwise they wouldn't have gotten on the street.
Yes. My life philosophy is that I want to put back in what I took out, number one, out of Milwaukee, and also help people to, not only adults, but also kids, that reach your dream. You can reach your dream. I reached my dream, which I went above and beyond I ever thought I would reach. I've gone to places I never thought I would go, to Okinawa, to Japan, to France, to Canada, Poland. I never dreamed of going there. But by the grace of God, yes, I did. And so it can happen. I came right from this neighborhood, okay? And that's what I want to put back into community. May it be helping people with as far as helping them with clothing, with food, but most importantly right now with Christian education. So to cultivate the next generation, okay? Otherwise, yes, I've been blessed, but I need to put back in so the next generation go above and beyond you and I, So that's how I look at it.
Education is the key, and we have talked to any number of politicians here, and by and large, if they don't get it when they walk in the door, they certainly do by the time they've left. Education is imperative, is paramount. Now, that's not just the education that you get in that classroom. It's that education that you get at home. It's that education you get the entire process for the time that you are hatched until you're out on your own, right?
Correct.
And we still today, I learn every day. I'm sure you learn every day. And we learn, if nothing else, how to deal with people and how people are dealing with their own struggles every single day. And you got to pick yourself up. They got to pick themselves up, and you got to move ahead. One step, move ahead.
Exactly.
And, but, even going much before that point, when you are 4, 5, 6 years old, whenever you have the opportunity to be in a structured educational environment, that is only going to pay dividends. The longer that you're in that, the longer that dividend is going to pay for you and open more doors and more opportunity.
Exactly. You know, the doors that have been opened for me came totally through education. It wasn't so much my ability, my skill, it was education. And I stress that immensely. Get your education, because after a point in time, that athleticism goes away.
It's gone.
It
Yep.
goes. You know, whether you believe it or not, when you're young, you're invincible. Okay? As you get older, it takes a little bit longer to bounce back, but your education gets stronger. Okay? So I encourage young individuals to get the education and continue. Don't be content. Whereas you need this level. No, go beyond that. Because the deeper your well of knowledge, the longer your longevity, the longer you're going to last. You know, and those more doors where one window closes, another door opens up. But you need that education, that foundation. If you don't have that basic foundation of education, it's not going to last as long as you thought it would be.
Well, you know, it's not just a matter of learning how to read and to write and do simple mathematics. It's how to get along with people, how to comport yourself in social situations, and what the process is to, again, be more than just a guy who's able to be a thug on the street shaking people down for money, and the difference to get yourself up and to move and do something productive for society. And I think that we just had a short segment here with one of the Shakerettes who's in college at UWM, and you know, our director had talked about the fact that many kids of her age, college age, are not looking for jobs right now. There's a huge shortage of staff everywhere for all fields. And you've got this group of people in their 20s, early, mid-20s, maybe even late 20s, that don't want to engage, don't want to work because they're getting paid, subsidized by the government to sit at home. You're not advancing yourself, you're not advancing society, you're not doing your part for the human race by sitting at home behind a keyboard, right?
Right.
And yet that's kind of what the mindset is, and it's a terrible waste of a life and of energy and space and everything else by not interacting, not grasping and having this connectivity. We're social animals, you need a connectivity.
Exactly.
But if you don't learn at an early age how to get along with people, you're going to have hurt feelings all the time, and you'll feel anxiety and stress, and you're not going to be able to function. And that's something, too, that really is or should be taught in grade schools and primary grades. Now, I said not putting reading and writing on the side. If you can't read and write, you're pooched. If you can't fill out that application,
Can't get a job.
you can't get a job.
It's a catch-22.
Can't get a driver's license. Can't do all sorts of things, right?
Right.
So, more than anything, families have to get their kids into school, and you have to then have them working towards something for their betterment.
Exactly.
And even if you don't go to college, because college has been overplayed for so many years. You and I
Yes.
talked about this in the past.
Yes.
Going to trade school, man, becoming a plumber, electrician, a HVAC person, whatever the case might be. We need those skilled
The
trades.
trades are so in need. As long as I've been alive, I've never seen the trades this so much in need. It's simply, I mean, again, like you said, college is good, but college is not for everyone.
Right.
Okay, we need plumbers, we need electricians, we need steam fitters. College is good, okay, but again, we need the carpenters. We need those builders, and God has given us all different gifts, and we need to really dig down deep and find out where they are. Okay, I'm not knocking college. You and I met when we were in college, different colleges, but as I continue to push that you need that education, may it be academically or trades. Okay, and like where I teach at Kingdom Prep, Lutheran High School, we have an internship that helps kids go out and learn trades. And it's a wonderful program. It's a wonderful, fantastic program, okay? Not saying or pushing things away from college. No, we're not saying that. We're saying that there are other gifts. And we need to have our younger generation realize that. And because a lot of them try college and it's not for them. You know, if you're gifted athletically, God bless you. Okay, but when that fails, you need a plan B. Okay, I was blessed to fight professionally while I was in college, but I always had a plan B because I knew it was going to last long. I fought professionally for 14 years by the grace of God. Okay, but I had the backup.
I don't even know what the statistics are on this, but it's got to be less than 1% of the population overall is able to matriculate into a professional sport. It's got to be a really insignificant number of people comparatively that have that gift, that athleticism, and that drive as well that enables them to go professional in something. Really small number.
It is.
And yet you get broken dreams everywhere because everybody wants to be just like Mike. They want to be just like whatever.
Right.
It's nice that you want to be that, but you got to have, no matter how much conviction and heart you got to beat your ass into something, you still have to have that physicality.
And also I want to add to that too, the sacrifice.
Yes. Oh my
The
gosh.
sacrifice that it comes along with that ride. It's if you're going to take that ride, be ready for heartache.
Yeah, I saw you on some of your earlier days, and I know the sacrifices that you made, and I'm sure there's many things I don't know about the sacrifice you made, but you had that conviction. You had the ability to work your way through that and to drive every day and to work out and to make yourself what you were. So, obviously your father was a professional as well, and I'm sure you got, genetically, you had to get some of that from him.
Yeah, a lot of it.
But again, it doesn't matter how much genetic ability you got if you don't have the conviction inside here, you don't have the heart for it yourself, and the ability to compartmentalize things and to almost single-mindedly move towards that goal, you're not going to get there.
No.
And if you do get there, you're not going to stay there.
No.
And then you got women, and you got the drugs, you got everybody around you who's got their hand in your pocket and wants to bring you down, get a piece of you.
Right.
They don't have the ability to do their own thing, but they want to take your thing.
Right.
As your best friend, as your guide, as your whatever it might
Right.
be. So the challenges are not just one dimensional; they're constant and they're mental
layers.
as much as any layers. Exactly,
Layers.
So when you were in that fight game, you really dominated that fight game, Tom. And what are some of your standout fights with that? Or do you want to talk about how you began the process and how did you start?
How did I start?
Yeah.
Full contact karate. It was a gentleman named I was 14 years old and 15, and they had just started this new type of fighting. You got Chuck Norris, Superfoot Bill Wallace, the Karate Joe Louis. Those guys were winning all the fights, and they wanted a new challenge. And so this gentleman by the name of Mike Anderson out of California decided to come up with this idea of full contact karate.
Okay.
And so that was the birth of it. And then he had them do a runoff, and you had Jeff Smith, and Gonzalez. I believe Gonzalez was the lightweight. Gordon Franks was super lightweight, and middleweight was Superfoot Bill Wallace. Light heavy was Jeff Smith, and heavyweight was Joe Louis. Okay, those became the original champions, and so that there became the birth of full contact karate. And so I was doing well at the amateur level here in Milwaukee, Chicago, Indiana, and I was shooting up the ranks as far as doing the green belt, purple, brown, and black belt. And then so I was approached that I'd be a good candidate to do is full contact karate. So I thought about it, and so after a point in time, I decided to do it. And I was also in college at the time too. So I fought my first fight. I was on the Milwaukee Police Department as a police aide. And so I decided to leave the police department. I wrote my matter of and so forth, turned in my equipment and rules and regs and those type of things. And after my shift was over, I got in the car with my manager and one of my karate. And so we drove to Kokomo, Indiana, and I turned pro that night. I ended up knocking the young man out in the second round. But I hit him so hard that it took 6 months for him to remember the fight.
Yikes.
And we fought again about a year and a half later here in Milwaukee at the Ramada Inn. And because I was in college, you're eating well, your metabolism is different. Well, what I didn't realize is at the dojo where I was training at, our scale was off. So I was 15 pounds over.
Ooh.
So come night of the fight, I got to, fight him on ESPN. And what ended up happening was I got on the scale and I'm 15 pounds over. So Sensei Kini said, okay, step off the scale. And so I get back on, he recalibrates it. I get back on again, 15 pounds over. Okay, I got one more shot. So I get off, I get back on the scale, 15 pounds over. So I got 3 options. Lose as much as I can in 5 hours. Okay, so I already signed a contract. Everything's all set. So I either lose as much as I can, don't lose any, and my whole purse goes to my opponent, or lose the weight and fight. So I up for number 3. So I got 5 hours to lose 15 pounds. I wouldn't recommend this to anybody. I did it. Okay, and I'm fighting the main event on ESPN.
So what's your starting weight?
My starting weight?
Yeah.
184.9.
184, okay.
So I'm 15 pounds above that.
Describe how you lost those.
Okay, how I lost those 15 pounds. Thank God I was here in Milwaukee. And I'm at the dorm. So I drove back to my dorm and got my sauna suit, and Mr. De Leon turned the sauna at the hotel up to 180 degrees. Okay, and I ran the combat boots back then. So I got my sweats on and my sauna suit and so forth. So I ran on 13th Street. Okay, and I ran back and forth like the devil was on my tail. And so I came back, I stripped down. Okay, I'm losing, I go jump on the scale. Okay, so many pounds lost. So I go back and I do it again. I kept running. And we had this particular women's cleansing cream called Abilene, which opens your pores. And so I got that all over my body, right? And so eventually I lost the 15 pounds. I wouldn't recommend it, not by any means.
And you're still able to fight after that.
And I had to fight. So now this becomes the interesting part, is because the gentleman before me, because I'm the main event. Okay, so the gentleman before me, a Greek gentleman, I don't remember his name anymore, but he had got injured. So the doctor had to escort him up to his hotel room in case he passed out or whatever. And so they had introduced me into the ring, but then they also introduced the fact that I lost 15 pounds. And we had a sports guy back then, Rod Luck. Okay, he was the MC.
Sure.
And so he let everybody know that I lost 15 pounds.
Yeah.
So you could hear the money betting against me.
Oh, I bet. Absolutely.
So what I did, I told Mr. De Leon, my trainer, I said, okay, so it's going to be a while. So I told him to face me and put his hands on top of the ropes. And I took my hood and put it over my head, crossed my legs, and I went to sleep on ESPN. God's honest truth. I went to sleep on ESPN. I only have so much in my tank, and I'm not going to waste it going out there and kickity. So ring doctor comes back. We go out and get the rules. We bow in, and bell rings. We go out the first round, move it around, kicking and punching, and so forth. First round ends, and I had this saying. It's from an old cartoon. I'm not going to go into the cartoon, but I would tell my corner it's time to go home. Now, if you're old enough to remember that, you know what I'm talking about. So my corner goes, okay. What it meant was, I got him. It's time for him to go home. So I went out second round and knocked him out. And the fight was over. So the next morning, I'm checking out from the hotel, and Sensei Yarnell sees me. He starts laughing and says, he finally gets his composure and says, Tommy, did you see the guy you fought last night? I'm going, no, not since last night. I said, why? He goes, because he looks like a raccoon. He goes, one eye is shut and the other one is half closed. He's got 2 black eyes, after a round and a half. But I wouldn't recommend the losing 15 pounds. I have bad kidneys. It damaged my kidneys big time.
Jeez, the things that you've done.
Yeah. So I wouldn't recommend that. So, but it was one of those sacrifices.
Yeah.
And I would do it again. I wouldn't do it again and again, but I would do it if I had to do it over again. So, but yeah, those are the kind of sacrifices that you do, making sure you get your run in no matter what the weather is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that came to me, Sensei, I want to train like you. I said, no, you don't. I go, why? Well, you're married, you got children. You can't do the type of training, okay? I ran every day no matter what, except for Sundays. And if it was raining outside, snowing outside, I still got that morning run in and that evening run in, no matter what the weather was, okay? And that takes discipline, it takes dedication. And a lot of guys had the physical attributes, but they didn't have the heart for it,
Right.
And it showed, I said, well, that's a little much, They want the glory, they want the prestige, but they don't want to do the work behind it, behind the scenes. So, and that's what I try to teach my younger students and the people that have come to me over the years. It's going to be sacrifice. There's a student that wants to be like me, and I'm sorry, but we're the same age. But you chose that path. I chose this path. You can no longer be on this path because you were on that path. God bless you, you did well, but you're not on this path.
Right, you can't go back in time.
Can't go back in time,
Right.
exactly. So it's just those things. So I share with you what I know now. And it's actually more, because I didn't know that much back here. So as I travel through life, I learned more.
Yep.
So be grateful that we're here instead of only back here. And they've gotten it, but it was a struggle.
It's one of the remarkable things about you is that you have embraced a variety of different things in the years that I've known you, that you are incredibly open-minded. And I've known a bunch of guys in the fight game that's just not the case. They are what they are. And in their mind, they're complete. They're made.
Yeah.
But you have always had this philosophical bent, and which is probably another reason that we got along so well, is that you have the ability to be not just interested in many things, but you really do your best to get to the core of something, to understand how things work, and make your opinions as predicated upon that. And yet you're incredibly still open-minded, which is, again, rather unique for a professional athlete, especially one of the fight game. So I'm sure that works with your foundation and your belief in Christianity and how you approach yourself, comport yourself on that side of your life, right? So you've been in Okinawa.
Yes.
You fought in Okinawa.
Yes. I fought in
So-
Japan.
Japan.
Okay.
Okay. So you were successfully there.
Yes. Our team won.
And what did you take away from, because that culture, whether it's the Buddhist or a different portion of what is being practiced at any given time, is
Shinto.
Shinto, but there are some correlations that take place in Christianity, and yet there are some things that are far away from that. So Tom, in the time that you spent fighting in other countries, interacting with other professional fighters, and like those times that you were in Japan, was there any part of their philosophical belief or religious belief that had any impact on you whatsoever? You saw a difference in how they comported themselves as fighters?
I respected their culture
Okay.
and their beliefs. I'm strong in my beliefs and my doctrine, not to have a conflict with anything. I understand the growth of, if you want to call it the martial arts, but specifically karate, and with the Shinto, some systems, like the system I came up in, my sensei blended his doctrine into the karate, which is no longer called Goju-Ryu, it was called Goju-Kai.
Was that Chuck Warren or?
No, Sensei Warren's instructor, Yamaguchi Sensei.
Okay.
He blended his religious belief into the karate that he studied from Choji Miyagi.
Okay.
So it was no longer called Goju-Ryu, it was called Goju-Kai. Kai means organization, Ryu means style.
Okay.
Okay, so, and also he blended a little bit of yoga into it, so it wasn't pure Goju-Ryu.
Okay.
Okay, so he changed to Goju-Kai. What Sensei Warren learned from him was Goju-Ryu, and that's what he taught when he brought back to the United States here in Milwaukee. And also the blending of Kempo, what he brought from Hawaii. And so therefore, the birth of Kempo Goju became birth in 1970.
So
16.
Kempo Goju was closed fist, closed hand, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Right. And Goju is half open, half soft.
Okay.
You know, Goju, half hard, half soft. Kempo means law of the fist.
Okay.
Okay. So, but as my travels over in Japan, I was able to meet some people that were just phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. I've also studied Kobudo, okay, weapons wet, and with Machiyoshi Sensei, who passed away in 1997. Wonderful man, was just a phenomenal with weapons, Okinawan weapons. And I'm going to share the story with you real quick. When we were leaving from there, I was invited to go there to study weapons and so forth, and along with my best friend, my brother from a different mother, Sensei Neil Stolzmark, and his lovely wife, Rocky. And we were invited there to train, and the government had built the Budokan for him, a place just to train for Kobudo. And when we were leaving, he had called and said to the hotel that he couldn't meet us at the hotel. He'll meet us at the airport. And I've seen a lot of amazing things, but this is amazing. So I'm helping people with I already got my weapons already on the carousel, getting loaded onto the airplane. So I'm helping other people from around the world, Europe, other parts of the United States, Canada, and so forth. And so I'm helping them, and all of a sudden I get a tug on the back of my shirt. And I turn, and I got to look down because Machiyoshi Sensei was only so tall to me, right? And so he has a straw hat on and green sunglasses. It's like it was yesterday. And out of all the people, all these students of his from around the world, he comes to me. And he goes and says, and I go, and I look at him, he goes, picks up his hat, pulls his glasses, goes, "Tami-san, cognito." So he's incognito. So I take a big, deep breath. And traditionally, if a higher ranking person bows, okay, he's higher ranking than I am. Okay, so when he bows, I have to bow lower than that.
Yeah.
So he's only so tall, so he bows, I got to go way down here. So I take a deep breath and I go, "Machiyoshi Sensei." And on my mom and dad's grave, I never saw this before, probably never see it again. Everybody bowed. Everybody. The only thing that didn't stop and bow was that carousel that was taking the weapon. That's the only thing that didn't stop. It was so amazing. And people behind the counter, people walking through the airport, everybody knew him. And so I'm down here, I'm waiting down here until he comes up and he goes, "Oh, Tami-san." But, understanding the culture, and I teach this to my students all the time, respect that culture, and you come to love it, and they will come to love you, okay? We as Americans have a tendency of not respecting other cultures, okay? You can look at their religion. That doesn't mean you have to believe in what they're believing, but don't disrespect it, okay? Try to show them another path if things, opportunity presents itself,
Sure.
but respect it and respect the culture, okay? And not only the culture, but also their arts, okay? Don't think that you were saying earlier about how we as Americans have a tendency of like, well, mine is better than yours. No. They were all designed to work together. If you do your history, and that's the things that we don't do. We don't do our history, and the traditional art of karate, if you want to call it martial arts, was to develop peace. It wasn't war; it was peace.
I'm going to say something that you might be uncomfortable with, but I have been watching a lot of things on Muhammad Ali. And there's a new Ken Burns piece that's coming out as well that really hits home that his message was really one about love, and it wasn't about destroying people. And what I'm going to get to with this is that I see, though I never met him, I've known you for years, and you have this very lighthearted aspect about you. You're very open, you smile, you laugh, you're friendly, You can be in any situation and you will find the ability to talk to anyone who's there. It doesn't matter what they do, right? I have met so many people in MMA that are thugs. They don't have the discipline, they don't have the philosophical orientation, they don't have the heart for other people. All they want to do is go out there and beat someone senseless. So it's like the street brawler kind of a concept, and yet they have found this vehicle through mixed martial arts that they get in this ring and they just destroy people. And they act like goons on the front side for the cameras and everything else, and they're mimicking people, whatever else. I've never seen you do that once.
You're not going to.
You've only that I've seen you interact yourself in the fight game with respect for your opponent and respect for other people. And I remember any number of times seeing you work the door at different situations where, 9 other guys out of 10 would have just started flailing on someone, and you're like, let's find out what the real problem is here.
Yeah.
Let's take a moment. And obviously, if something needed to be addressed, then you address it. But there's other ways to do something to diffuse the situation first. In my mind, is always smarter than just coming out for bear, right?
Right, I agree, and that's how my philosophy has always been. If I approach you, say for example, and working as a door, I've already mentally diffused you already. So no matter what you do, I'm already 3 steps ahead of you, sometimes 4. And so it's like, okay, let's just take a step back, take a breath, okay? It's not that big of a deal, okay? And a lot of guys want to prove themselves, okay? I personally myself take how can I put it? I'm being polite. I do not want to be put in that same mix with MMA, okay? So whoever's watching, whatever, don't put me in that same mix, okay? I teach traditional karate, okay? MMA is mixed martial arts. It's a hodgepodge.
Mixed up.
It's mixed up.
Yeah.
And now they're trying to, I've seen on TV, they're trying to make Bruce Lee into the grandfather of MMA, okay? Because he was working through his Jeet Kune Do, okay? I think it's disrespectful, but they're trying to find identity.
Right.
They find a place to be. They're gonna find some foundation, some traditional foundation. No, okay? It's messed up, and I tell my students and other people that ask me these questions, and I said, go back to traditional karate, your foundation. You need that foundation. You need that well to dig deep in when situations come and you need to really have to throw down.
Yep.
And if you don't have that, you're just scraping the surface. That's all you're going to get, and it's going to be it's called tamashiwara, okay, the art of breaking. If MMA was, if they were trained the way they should be, they would get somebody on the floor, and they would hit them the way they should be with tamashiwara, somebody would be dying. Okay, not this flailing stuff. It's bam, one punch done, and I don't want that. I don't want to see that happen.
True.
Okay, but if the techniques are correct, it shouldn't take all that, cutting and all that blood and so forth. No, when we fought, it was professional. I mean, and these guys.
Well, you think about pugilism. You think about the British style, and you got guys that are there and they're fighting, and after the fight, they're fine with each other, right? MMA, that's not the case at all. They're sworn blood enemies, for God's sakes. They're not athletes that are performing an athletic function. They're thugs in a ring, from my perspective.
Right. Yeah. Now I'm going to bring up, you think about professionalism. I'm going to bring up my number one nemesis, Bad Brad Hafton. We were professionals. All of us were professionals. But I fought him 4 times. And we brought out the best out of each other. Like Ali and Frazier. They brought out the best out of each other. Okay? And I still commend him to this day. And we've actually talked not too long ago. Well, several years ago. But him, his father, before he got called home, after a fight, we would go to, I think it was called the Big Chill.
Okay.
And we'd sit and have a cocktail afterwards. And we just got done fighting 12 rounds. The two best fighters in the entire world in the heavyweight.
Yep.
And now we're having a cocktail.
Yep.
How many fighters would do that in MMA nowadays?
And really, so it should be.
Oh yeah, we're professionals. We did our job. We're done working.
Pole vaulter, whatever the case might be. So say your athletic professionalism, you're there at the top, the pinnacle, and you should respect that person that is also at the top. It's crazy how they don't do that. So we have become a nation that really is obsessed with this whole blood sport mentality. I mean, gladiators, right? To the death. Please. We've evolved beyond that.
And see, the problem I have with it is that they call it mixed martial arts. Okay, like that lampshade. It's like an umbrella. But now you throw us all under that umbrella, and we're not.
No.
We're not even in the realm.
Right.
And people think, oh well, and then parents aren't sending their kids to us. Oh, you're like that mixed martial arts. Or I don't want my kid to learn mixed martial arts. And it's done damage. It's done damage, and
when you think about the entire entertainment world, so you've got the cool guys like Chuck Norris, and Chuck has certainly created his own legacy as an actor and just as an entertainment icon in so many ways. And kids go through the process. I just want to be like Chuck Norris. Well, you don't understand what Chuck Norris really did and how he began his thing. And so what he has become the last 20 years, certainly, well, he's a movie star,
Right.
And that's a whole different thing. But it's like culinary school, and we get so many kids that have gone through the program, but now they're here and they have to work, and like, well, I just want to be like Bobby Flay. I just want women around me, and I just want. It doesn't work that way, man. You gotta earn the right to be something.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what you do. You got to have that thing inside of you that's going to make you be better and better and better than yourself every day. Not better than the next guy. Be better than yourself every day you possibly can be. And then at some point, you probably will be better than somebody else. Right? So here we are, and you've had a lot of fights everywhere, but you had a good start from a boxing perspective as well, didn't you?
Oh, I dabbled in it, and I had three professional fights. First one, it was Johnson and Funmaker and Johnson. And first, I just wanted to try it. Okay, it was a Barrymore Theater in Madison. Big African-American gentleman, strong. And I knocked him out in the third round. And but then we had another fight at the Barrymore Theater in Madison. And this Native American Indian, I tip my hat to this day. I hit him with everything I had. He wouldn't go down, but I beat him. And when I had white trunks on with red stripes on the side. And I raised my hand and blood just ran down. It was something to behold. But he wouldn't go down. And then the third one was in Janesville against Johnson. I knocked him out in the second. And then I said, okay, just like full contact karate, I was only going to do one fight.
Yeah.
40 fights later, I was only going to do one fight.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself.
Your father was a boxer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Massive hands.
Yes.
Yeah. And quite an accomplished boxer as well.
Yeah. For the older guys, he beat Archie Moore, Georgia Joe Wilcox, Ezra Charles, and I found out at his funeral that he outpointed and beat the boxer Joe Louis.
Not a small feat.
And so it was like, what? So I take pride in the fact that I beat the karate Joe Louis and my dad beat the boxer Joe Louis in the same family.
Nice.
So
very nice.
That was so. But yeah, my dad. A lot of people think that I grew up in the gym with my dad. My dad had already retired when I was born. Okay. But he did help me out later on in my life, in my fight career, and immensely.
And your dad came to your fights?
Yes.
Yes.
My dad never saw me lose.
Okay.
Never saw me lose. And several times I got in tight situations and he would take off his cap, come up to the corner and goes, Tolman. He goes, throw left bar, or he's a southpaw, step to your right and throw. That time I hit the guy, I knocked him through the second and third rope. Never hit the ring apron, hit the conference tables, bounced off the conference tables, hit the wooden floor and slid to the first row. He was out. That's on ESPN too. But those type of things, my dad never saw me lose, Gary Kalugowitz, one of the deputies in Milwaukee. I hit him with the iron bar.
Animal. He's an animal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it took him 45 minutes to revive him. So, yeah, my dad was inspirational in my fight career, you know. And techniques I still use to this day. You know, when I do seminars or whatever, my dad's spirit is with me with that. And
What's an iron bar?
the iron bar is the left hook. Okay, and when I hit this Gary Kalugowitz, I hit him with the left, and I hit him so hard, my head turned, and when I came back for the right hand, he wasn't there. And he had just returned from competing in the all-Japanese karate tournament, and he took 5th as an American. So I thought that was...
International tournament.
Yeah, and I had not traveled at this point in time. So on film, they had me hit him, bam, and I turned, I came back for the right hand, and I'm doing this. I thought he took to the air. But his head was snapping 5 times before it hit the ground, before it hit the mat. So it took him 45 minutes to revive him. So those type of things. My dad would just tell me one thing, you know, step to your right and throw. Iron bar. And he'd go sit back down. You think I'm calm? My dad's even calmer. Okay. I'm going to share the story real quick about my dad. He was a construction worker. He was that group of people that came up in the 40s and 50s from the South, particularly from New Orleans. And he was a boxer and so forth. And I'm finding this stuff out after my dad's called home, okay?
Now, your father's incredibly humble, and he
Oh,
didn't talk about...
No.
No.
Matter of fact, a lot of people at his funeral didn't know he's a professional boxer. And we were at St. Marcus since '64.
Wow.
And no one knew. Well, what happened was I asked my dad to do a seminar. And my dad did that. My dad's a very humble guy. Man.
Sure.
So he does not know the proper etiquette of a karate studio. Take your shoes off. Take your bow when you come in. This and that. So my dad came in from working 8 hours construction work. He came in with construction dust on his shoes. So he walks in my dojo. And I'm like, never mind. Let it go. So he comes out there. My dad's a very quiet guy. And I had a 180-pound Everlast leather hanging bag. Okay. So my dad picks up my leather ball bearing handle jump rope. He walked off the street and he started to just jump and roll. I can do it when I have handles in both hands and do it and pretend I'm kind of but I couldn't do it like it. He walked off the... I'm emphasizing this because that's 8 hours of concrete work. I worked with my dad before. I couldn't do that. So also my dad goes to the heavy bag and he's talking to my students. They're sitting on the floor. And my dad said, well, when you throw a jab, okay, you want to throw a jab, you want to make it like a 2x4. And so when you step in, and my dad had a certain way of jabbing. He didn't jab like that. My dad, in his day, if you threw a real nonchalant or a lazy jab, they would touch and go. They would come over the top, okay? So they would jab like that. So if you take this out, you're still protecting yourself, okay? Traditionally, it would be here, but they would slide it over there. So that's how I was taught. So my dad is talking to my students and so forth, and it's this heavy bag. So my dad, he throws his jab. He steps in with, in Japanese called koshi, but with his hips, he steps in, bam! And that bag did not do that. That bag went, ow! That bag could have talked. It went, ow! It didn't swing. It bent. It's a 180-pound bag. And so then my dad goes, well, then you work the jab and then you follow with the right hand, right? So you boom, bent, right hand, bent. That bag did not swing. And so then he said, you come back with your iron bar, your left hook. That bag went bam, bam, boop. I said, I can't follow this. I can't follow this. No way. Okay, Daddy, you gotta go. You gotta go home. We're done. I gotta teach these guys. I can't do that. But that was him. And he was such a kind, loving person. I remember we were driving down the street on Titonia and he pulls over. And I don't know if he knew these people or not. But the stoop was broken. Stoop with steps. Okay? He goes back in the truck, always has some ready mix. He mixed up some ready mix, goes out there and patches up, we get back in the bus truck and we go. I don't know if he knew those people or not, but when my father saw a need like that, and he passed that on to me.
That's a great story.
You know, it's like how we got together again. It happened with the scullery back here. You know, you couldn't keep dishwashers, and I said, oh, I'll do it. I got that from my dad. You know, you've been a friend of mine for God knows how long. You needed help. I didn't want pay.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, whatever it takes.
Yep.
And what perpetuated from that increased our friendship. You know, so those type of things I try to pass on to my students and people I run into, people in the community. You know, help. You know, like at Northside Lutheran Ministry. You know, I've always wanted a ministry where that people, like the Good Samaritan, you know, you got the people walking around this person that needs help, okay? And the person comes along, helps them, takes care of them, gives money to the innkeeper, so I'll be back, okay? That's the type of person I want to be, okay? To help that person that people walk by, pretend they don't see them, okay? Walk around them or step over to the next side of the street. No, I'm going to go up to them. I'm going to help them. They need food, clothing, shelter. I'm going to find something.
That's going to be tough today because almost every street corner in Milwaukee, you can find busy street corner, you find someone with a sign. And there have been any number of reports about these people then getting off the streetcar or a corner, getting into their car, driving off somewhere else. And, you know, you got a guy who's driving a $50,000 Lexus, but he's spending 4 hours a day on the street corner kind of thing. How do you make that determination as to who actually needs help, who doesn't need help, and who are you going to assist?
Well,
because there's a ton of people that are there, I think, really ought not to be there.
one thing, you don't give people money.
Okay?
You don't give them money. If they need food, if you have a vehicle, take them and get some food. You know, and you pay for it. Or you direct them to shelters that, you know, provide or give out food on certain days and things like that. Okay, write it down. If they can't read, someone can't read, you tell them where it is, how to get there, and so forth. And that's what I do. You know, or I'll tell them, okay, well, you go to Northside Lutheran Ministries on such and such day on Tuesdays, this and that stuff. We give out bags of food, or other shelters, ones downtown and so forth, guest house, and those type of places. We have numerous of places like that.
Oh, yes. Oh,
You know,
yes.
so there's really no excuse to be sitting on a boulevard with a sign.
Sure, or you could dial 211 and they'll find sources
and they'll
for you.
find, exactly.
Sure. Okay.
So everybody has a cell phone. So
They do. How about that?
So
Yeah. So you never got involved in politics, which I think is very admirable. And I think that part of that is, you know, we have politicians, not statesmen. You are much more of a statesman in so many ways. Any thoughts on the political situation at all? It's a mess.
okay, but as far as locally,
Pick
nationally,
one. Yeah, pick one.
I can't really speak on the national one because I really haven't followed it closely to make a comment. I just think certain things in Milwaukee itself are getting better. I think they're getting better, but we still have we still have a long ways to go. With changing the administration, you know, it's going to take a couple years. It's going to take a couple years.
We have a large number of people that, for whatever reason, come to me to ask what they need to do if they're running for mayor. And again, why ever they come to me is, I guess, up to them. But by and large, my recommendation is get yourself a large piece of paper. Milwaukee. Here are the problems with Milwaukee. Here are things you'd like to change in Milwaukee. Get yourself another piece of paper. Break down those things. Refer back to this every day, but don't talk about this in the media. Look at this site over here. You got these 6 or 10 different topics. You break those down. What's it going to do? What do you need to do? And I say to everybody, if you're white, find yourself a coalition with the Hispanics, with the blacks, with the Asians, whatever you do. Somebody strong who has the same feelings and sentiments that you do can assist you because you need that liaison. You need to work those parts of the city. You can't be this old white guy like this empty bag of bones you got right now for a mayor who's completely oblivious to much of the problems and travails in the city of Milwaukee. He should have if not a chief of staff, he needs to have his advisors who are locked into each one of those different areas so he can see what they need. What are their concerns? How can we assist them to be one city in Milwaukee?
Right.
And as opposed to that, all you do is you divide it, because you have a blind eye. You're not looking at that except for yourself and your little group. That doesn't help a city.
No.
That's not a city leader at all. No. That's not a governor. That's not a president. You got to be able to look at all sides of the equation, and they're just not doing that.
Like I said before, I really emphasize understanding different cultures. Because you learn so much from understanding different cultures. It's so, for me, it's so rewarding because it's education. And you know what may be in this particular culture, say for example, food. Okay, and when how they make it, when they make it, certain dishes, this and so forth. Why? The history behind it. All those type of things. That's education, and respect that. And don't say, I don't like that. Well, try it.
How do you know?
How do you know?
Right.
I mean, and to me, that is respect and expanding your knowledge and getting to know another culture. Those are what we call neighborhoods when we were growing up. Now they're sectioned off. The Italians are over here, the Puerto Ricans are here, the Mexicans are here, the Polish are here. That really shouldn't have been, that still shouldn't be going on right now. It really should not be going on.
I agree. I understand when they came from Europe at one point, right? So it's after the First World War, after the Second World War, and they're looking, they don't speak the language,
Right.
looking to be around those other people that are here that speak their language. They came from Europe at one point, right? So it's after the First World War, after the Second World War, and they're looking, they don't speak the language,
Right.
looking to be around those other people that are here that speak their language and also speak this language, and that's how you grow, that's how you learn, right? So I get that. But that's not what's been taking place the last 40 years, for God's sake.
50 years.
50 years.
Easily. And and now it's developed its own, segregation. It's still going on. Milwaukee is still the, top 3 segregated cities.
It's not the most segregated major city in the country, yeah.
So it's me, personally, myself, I love going into places where I'm the only person of color and help to educate them on breaking that stereotypical mold and walk out and people are like, wow, I am no miracle worker or nothing like that, but I accept that challenge, because a lot of people say, well, I'm not going over there because there's not enough of us there. Well, it starts with one. What?
In my own simplistic little way, I've long been told that I don't cook like a white boy, I cook like I'm black. And I take that as a compliment because I look at that as the soul, and I love being in those cultures, whether it's the southern U.S., the Caribbean, whatever it might be, because there's a different concept of how you look at food. It's a bridge, and you do it together. You do it with someone you love, and you bring that forward, and you work with different spices, different flavorings. And not to, this concept that we have now about if you can't make it good, you make it hot. So put oleo resin on cardboard so it burns your tongue. Who wants that?
No.
Not me. But to take flavors and really make the dish exciting, I think that's what the play is. So call me what you want. I don't care, but that's what I want to bring forward to something. And I think that little thing that I can do to bridge and do a traditional New Orleans style or Caribbean style dish that I can do here and turn you on to something that here in Milwaukee you've never had before.
Right.
It's magical to me, the impact I can have on someone by exposing them to something they would never otherwise have.
Right.
So
I agree 110%. And again, that's knowledge. That's education. And then again, to extend it to understand the culture. And myself, I like history. So how did it get to that point? How did those, and I'm not going to get into the slavery thing like that. There's other different reasons why foods got to be the way they are. Made necessity, whatever. But it's phenomenal when you have, certain foods and things like that, and it's like, wow, I never had this before. Like going over to Japan or Okinawa. The different foods. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, I'm not going to eat that. It's not cooked enough. Did you try it? I'm trying to think of a tiger.
Suspend your belief for a moment, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, is it tigerfish? That if it's not cooked right, it'll kill you.
Oh, fugu. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
You
Pufferfish.
know.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are certain meats here that if it's not cooked properly, it's going to make you sick.
Absolutely.
You know, so
Even produce. We cooked cassava last week. So
Okay.
if you don't do it right, it's cyanide, right?
Right.
So you have to cook it thoroughly, and yet it's incredibly flavorful if done properly.
right.
Jamaica, a key, same kind of a thing. You got to cook it right.
Last time I was here, I went to use the restroom upstairs, and I went in that room, and it brought back memories when you were making.
The jam and jerk or whatever else up there.
Well, yeah, but you were making black beans inside of banana peppers, and you had me in there with the shower cleaning the banana peppers, and I had the doors closed. And you opened the doors and said, "Tommy, what are you doing?" "I'm cleaning the banana peppers." And you said, "They're going to kill you because of the fumes." I didn't know that, so that was thank goodness you came along. I wouldn't be here right now. But I walked in that restroom upstairs and went, "Oh yeah, I remember. I almost died in this room here."
Yeah.
You know. But when you cook those, they were phenomenal.
Yeah.
They were phenomenal. But that's education. That's, you know, and people, if they sit in a little small bubble and say, "Well, I don't eat this, I don't eat that, I don't eat that." Why? Why?
Well, you know, intrinsically, innately, we are very xenophobic. We're afraid of things we don't understand.
Correct.
But if you don't make that first step to try to understand something, you'll always be afraid of something,
Always be
right?
afraid.
And so the anxiety and the stress and whatever else. But you can get past all those things if you just get into something and sample something.
Right.
Whatever it might be in life.
Exactly. You know, and going back to karate, if I had not been introduced into it by my brother and so forth, who knows? I might have been a thug out in the street, you know, because it helped.
Well, I suspect you never would have been that. But
No, I'm simply saying that it helped me to mold and how to vent and how to deal with things that are going on during the riots and things like that, and the aftermath of the riots and things like that. So it was a blessing, but we were able to deal with what was going on at the time, and how. Again, like you said about love for food, you know, I have a love for the arts. You know, one of my students asked me just this last week, he said, "Sensei, you know, how many different styles do you know?" And I counted off, not I know, but I've actually studied it. And it was 7. He goes, "Well, how did you find time to do that?" I said, "We didn't have cell phones. I just got in my car, grabbed my gi bag, and I went and trained with whoever. You know, I wasn't putting a barrier up. Well, you're not, you know, Kempo Goju. You're not Kobayashi Shorin-ryu. You're not Taekwondo. This and that stuff. I went and just trained. You know, and it helped me to meet a lot of friends that are friends to this day. They're friends to this day, and so it didn't put those barriers up. You know, I don't care if you're Hispanic, if you're German, if you're Italian, whatever, you're doing what I think and what I see as good karate, I want to train with you. That's going to help me to get better. And if I can share something with you, I'm going to share it with you. Okay, so that's how I live. You know, and it's been, I've been able to travel around Wisconsin and places that I've started certain things that are still going on, certain workouts and so forth, that I totally forgot about. And I started this like 30 years ago. I go, "You guys are still doing that?" "Oh yeah, we still call it the Slam Jam." I go, "Oh, okay, I did that like 35 years. I started you guys with that." But it's just sharing, you know, what the Lord has blessed you with, and with other people, and, you know, again, love, you know, and creating a peaceful world, you know, and passing it on to the next generation.
Yep.
You know, no matter what the culture is, no matter what the denomination you are, you know, that you could work out later. You know, don't come at them strong with religion. Okay, that the Holy Spirit, you know, all you do is plant the seed. But I've been blessed, you know, to be able to travel, meet people, and like I said, we've been lifelong friends, and so that's my encouraging words, and my fight career has been a blessing. It's the people I've met, the people I've been able to compete against, it's been just amazing, you know. And people have been after me, like you also, you know, you got to write a book. You got to write a book. I'm in the process of it. I have a good friend of mine that finally agreed to ghostwrite it for me. But it's just,
Can't wait to see that.
It's one of those things on my list.
There you go.
So,
Patrick, any questions? It's
And
been a
like-
nice afternoon, Tommy.
thank you. You know, I love anytime we'll be back. I can always tell stories. You
Well,
know.
we definitely will bring you back. Actually, I'd like to hook him up sometime with Hector, and get Hector in here as well. Area boxer, professional, Golden Gloves, Olympics, and have you guys just jaw at some point.
Wonderful. I would
Perfect.
love to do that. You know, does he know Israel Costa?
He knows Israel, yes.
Okay. Israel taught me a lot of things when we used to train together down at the King Center.
Sure.
Phenomenal athlete.
Whatever happened to Superfoot, by the way? Did Wallace die?
No, he's still alive. Joe
Really?
Lewis is dead.
Okay.
I know.
Well, Joe's old. I mean, how old is, well, Wallace has to be 70
is-
something
yeah.
now, 75.
Yeah, he's 75, 77.
Yeah.
He's still active. But yeah, Joe died 5 years ago, something like that. But yeah, Superfoot's still around. He's still doing seminars. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, he might have been here like 5 years ago in Wisconsin. But I wasn't able to make the seminar. But yeah, most of those guys are still alive, you know, that kicked everything off and got it started. But yeah,
Excellent.
so
Tommy Hall,
hey,
always my pleasure. Thank you very much for being here.
thank you.
Folks, use at home. I want you to take something from this, and I want you to think about other people, think about yourselves, think about your family, think about the people you love, and think about a way that you can make a difference in this world by reaching out to someone that you typically would not otherwise talk to and see what they got going on in their world. Cheers to you. Thanks for being here.